Well, I looked on WatchMojo.com. They did a similar type of list.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a top 20 list.
Mm.
I'll name them off to you.
Okay.
Number 20, Willie Pep. I don't know who that is.
Very
you know
slick. Oh, yeah, yeah. Willie Pep was very slick. Great head movement. You know, he's a little guy.
Number 19, Jack Dempsey.
Okay, these are boxers.
Mm-hmm. Number 18, Daniel Cormier.
Dan Cormier, yeah.
Cormier, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a wrestler and a striker.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, John Jones.
Number 17, Roberto Duran.
Boxer.
Yep.
Great boxer.
Number 16, Archie Moore.
Boxer.
Number 15, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Great boxer. I think he's number 2 in my list of greatest fighters.
Number 14 is Floyd Mayweather Jr., which I think is just kind of crazy to put him that low.
No, you can't put that.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah.
Silly.
Floyd is well, you know how I feel about that.
Number 13, Khabib.
That he could, yeah. Yeah, Khabib is maybe
You might have to redo your list a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Khabib. I'd bring him up.
Who would you take off to put Khabib in?
I'd have to take off Floyd to put Khabib in there.
Okay.
Because if you're talking about all around fighter,
overall, all around fighter,
then Khabib is up there.
Number 12, Rocky Marciano.
I just can't put any boxers because it's like,
I got you.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with that. Like, because if somebody is a wrestler,
mm-hmm.
it's hard for a boxer to deal with that.
Number 11, Anderson Silva. I think it's a little too high on that list.
Yeah, a little too
high.
Mm.
Number 10 is John Jones.
He's number 1 on my list.
Yeah. What's odd is number 9 is Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah. He was great in his day.
Oh, he's one of the most dominant boxers. But
to put Roy Jones over Mayweather doesn't make any sense. In terms of boxing. At all.
Yeah. But as far as like anybody, the level of destroying somebody, like talk about a level of offense. I've never seen anybody like Roy Jones.
Oh yeah, he'd hit you with a 30-punch combo and land every one.
I've never seen an offense like Roy Jones.
Yes,
he's number 1 offense-wise ever. To me.
I agree.
Yeah,
yeah. We used to just watch tapes and just watch it over and over again. Like, my God, like
it's Roy Jones is like he's 360 dunking on people.
Yeah. Number 8, Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor.
Yeah. Again, oh man, he'd be above. He'd actually be above Khabib.
Okay. Number 7, Manny Pacquiao. I don't know how you would put Manny Pacquiao over Mayweather when Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
How do you? I don't get that.
I don't get it.
So this is getting interesting. Number 6, George St. Pierre.
Yeah, the MMA guys are going to be top 5.
But would you put St. Pierre over John Jones?
God, no. and then you talk about weight, and like if St. Pierre had to fight John Jones, that'd be unfair to St. Pierre. Like, so yeah, it's...
Number 5, Mike Tyson. Number 4, Muhammad Ali. Number 3, Joe Louis. The boxer Joe Louis. Mm-hmm. The Brown Bomber. Would you put Joe Louis over Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Mayweather?
No, because you're talking about somebody who boxes. They're severely limited to just
yeah.
And
even in the boxing, you would put Joe. But in terms of just boxing, would you put Joe Louis over the other great heavyweights, or the other, and Mayweather? Would you put Joe Louis over Mayweather, Tyson, and Ali?
Which Joe Louis?
The boxer Joe Louis.
No.
Huh?
God, no. I mean, it's unfair, but Joe Louis fought like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And flat-footed fought like this, you know? And
he was great for his day.
yeah, and he's the other guys would dwarf him in reality. It's just like Marciano. He was a very small guy in comparison to the monsters we have walking around now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an unfair comparison. It's like you can't kind of compare it's like track and field when people were doing the old style and then now you have they used to do a Western roll to jump over the high bar until the Fosbury flop where you jump up and go over backward. If you did the old style, they'd kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you come on, put them up. Why you're gonna do like this to somebody who's moving around and on their toes and jabbing? Like, no.
You're gonna love this next one. Number 2, Bruce Lee.
So we're just dealing in fantasy.
Throw the whole list away, huh?
Yeah, it's ridiculous because that's in somebody's fantasy.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Number 1, Sugar Ray Robinson.
People just love to say that. Sugar Ray Robinson was so dominant. He was great for his day. And amazing for his day. But,
he had 173 wins in 200 fights, 108 by knockout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's not enough. You can't take stuff away from him. But when you talk about fighting as a actual no holds barred, that kind of stuff, it's completely, it's different.
Yeah, this list is crazy.
I know.
I don't know who.
Real fighters I know, like boxers I know who don't know how to punch in a street altercation that will break their hands.
Yeah.
Because their hands are taped up and and it's a difference. If you strike and know how to break things, you hit objects and you train your hands to break objects. Big difference. A lot of boxers will land like this because the gloves on, and and their hands are taped. Big difference, So there's a lot of martial arts has a distinct advantage in a combative sense.
Well, the last member question is, have you ever considered putting out your own beverage called Michael Chai White?
Who said that shit?
This is from Leo Lightning.
Huh?
A guy named Leo Lightning.
Leo Lightning?
Leo Lightning, one of my members. Yeah. Michael Chai White.
That's hilarious.
By the way, I always meant to ask you this. The origin of your last name.
White.
Do you know the origin of it?
Yeah, I do.
What's the history behind this?
It was Applewhite at one time.
Applewhite?
Applewhite, like it was spelled APPHWAIT.
Oh, Applewhite.
And then it was called Applewhite.
Okay.
And in Louisiana, the territory, and I believe it was my father it was my father or his father that just shortened it to White.
Right, because there's always been this kind of debate about the last names of African Americans, right? Some people say they took slave masters' last names, but I heard most of the times that's not true.
I think most of the times that is true.
Well, I heard it wasn't true. I heard a lot of times what would happen was after the slaves were freed and a lot of them moved up north, a lot of them didn't have last names. So what they would do is they would just pick common last names just to have a last name. And then they just ran with it. Because why would you take your slave master's last name? It's like, if you have a choice.
You had no choice.
Well, back then, but once you became free, why would you keep it? You know what I'm saying? And also, why would the slave master call his slaves with his last name? Because they're not his kids.
They own them.
But you don't call your dog your last name. And that's basically how people were treated, like as subhuman back then.
It's not quite the same, but there were records. There's all these records because that's how you kept records.
Okay.
John's son. Robin's son. So those are, a lot of the historical last names. That's why, like O'Brien of Bryant, that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I just know through historical records that's been the case of.
I mean, have you traced it all the way back to slavery times, if that's actually where your family came from? Or?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people who's, in the names that preceded the last names that we were using, and because it came from, we had popes and canons and actually I'm literally related to Nick.
Nick Cannon?
Yeah. I met his father, and we basically from South Carolina. There's a place called Cannon Town.
Okay.
But so it's, you can trace a lot of these things, and that's very common for a lot of Black folks. Because that's a thing of pride to some degree, even though we're fragmented. And I'm glad that a lot more folks we're doing like what we did, is to really trace back to where you were from in the continent of Africa, and so but that's, I think a lot of us grow up with there's aunts and uncles who take pride in knowing their lineage.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing with the NOI, right? They, the members didn't want the last names that were basically given to them or tied to slavery. So that's why
big time
Malcolm
in New
X
Jersey
and everything else like that. Or, even like Tupac Shakur, his mom gave him a whole new name.
Dude,
a whole new last
growing
name.
up, almost, it was so...
Like Shabazz and all this kind of stuff.
When somebody had a Muslim name or whatever, I'm like, are you from Jersey? How you know? It's like...
Yeah. It was a thing out there.
It was like, I didn't know any Black person from Jersey that just had the regular slave.
Smith.
They just, for some reason, Jersey was on it like big time.
Mm-hmm.
But there was, FOIs and all that. Yeah, that was a big surge of that later.